much, Eric, for joining us. And I'm so curious about your journey. So just walk us through how you actually started creating content, basically in travel content creation. And now you're also tapping into digital consulting. So just walk us through how it all happened.
So I started way back in high school. The first time I picked up a camera, I think I was 14 years old. I tried doing like YouTube videos, like vlogs, like most other people would have done. It failed miserably. So I took about 6 months of not making videos. I was just doing normal high school things like playing sports, whatever. And then TikTok started coming around. I watched one of my favorite YouTubers. He made a video about TikTok. I'm like, what's that? I don't know what this platform is. Never heard of it. So I hopped on the platform. I didn't tell any of my friends. And I started making all kinds of variety content. I did that for about 8 months, grew from 0 to 500,000 followers, which was super crazy for that time. Then I kind of struck gold because the platform blew up.
Yeah.
So I kind of rode that wave as it was like growing exponentially. During COVID, everyone was on social media. So I got really kind of lucky with the timing of it. And then I had transitioned over to YouTube because that's where the end goal was for me as opposed to TikTok. And then I was on a vacation with my friend and we were in Italy, and I made a video about the Vatican City being the world's smallest country. That was like the first travel video I'd ever done. And then I made a video about Ryanair being the worst airline in the world.
I saw that.
Even though it's not that bad, it's actually pretty decent, but that was just like the title to get like the clickbait. That video did really well. Both of them did actually. So then I kind of repeated the same concept with America's worst airline, Canada's worst airline, and then there's a lot of interest in it.
You kind of found your niche then.
Yeah, so just kept doing travel stuff. And during that time as well, I had a bunch of creator friends. And I would always kind of like help them out if they were smaller than me. At the time, I had an editor. His name was Theo. And he was super talented. He was like a magician. And I was kind of having a conversation with him one day. I was like, why are you not doing this yourself? Like, you're super talented. And he just didn't have that confidence. So I like kind of said, I'm like, you know what? I want to be greedy and keep you as my editor, but I also want you to be a creator yourself. So I kind of mentored him a little bit and like showed him the ins and outs, helped him with like feedback. And he went from 10,000 to 250,000 like pretty quickly. So then that kind of gave me the bug for consulting, because when I started content creation, there's a lot of misinformation online of people who think they know what happens or how to grow, and it's not the case. So I kind of want to like give back to people and teach them the things that I wish I had when I was starting out. So that's kind of why I'm venturing into the consulting side of things, as well as travel and my own personal content too.
It's amazing to hear, because a lot of people, there's a misconception that on TikTok especially, that you can immediately grow viral and immediately grow your following, which is not the case anymore because it's so saturated. So do you have a process that you follow or a kind of research that you dig in before creating a piece of content?
Yeah, I think it's like, to speak to your point of overnight virality, like there definitely is an aspect that it can happen, but then you see those cases of like, okay, you get one viral video, but then everything else dies after. And the people that you see who go viral and then sustain that virality, there's probably tens of hundreds of videos that haven't done well beforehand, and then that's the final payoff point, and then it starts scaling. Usually when I approach a video, or when I was first starting off, it was testing a bunch of things to figure out what works. After about like a month of testing a bunch of different things, I kind of narrowed down the videos that had performed the best. And then my strategy was like, okay, clearly these are the best performing videos. How do I improve these and make these even better? And that's still kind of my strategy today, is whenever I have videos that are successful, basically replicate the idea and remix it until it no longer does well. And at that point, test some more, figure out new concepts. Once those ones do well, double down on it and rinse and repeat. Because if videos are consistently doing well, it means there is clearly audience interest. And I think the biggest portion of that is coming up with like really good ideas too, which is also extremely hard. It's not easy to come up with good ideas. But for that, it's usually a mix of things that I've already done or looking outside of my niche at other pieces of content to see what's done well before, how I can apply it to my own. But that's generally my workflow process.
That's amazing. And coming up with ideas is really difficult. So do you think with the emergence of AI and technology, is it going to be easier for content creators to tap into this market and more people to become content creators? And like, how do you think that they should use it ethically for creating their own personal brands, and even digital consultants can use it ethically?
So, I mean, AI is great, obviously, but I think it does a few things. It it helps people with a lot of like simple tasks, so like scriptings, ideas and whatnot. It's still not like great at it. You can't just ask it for a script and use that script. It doesn't usually perform well. You still need that
It's very robotic, you can tell.
Yeah, you still need that human element to actually understand audience interest. I don't think AI is at the point where it really understands like audience interest in video. In terms of consulting, it's great for like all the administrative tasks that you don't want to do. So like you can do it for like emails, copywriting, and all that stuff. I think AI is in an interesting place because as much as it's going to benefit small creators too, the big creators are also going to use it. So I think it's also only going to elevate the bar of quality of content that needs to be there to achieve like consistent success. But I think it's going to be a long-term play. And it's so new now that you can make predictions, and then within 5 years it could be something completely different. But I think it will be like an essential piece for everyone's workflow.
So what do you think today, if somebody, some aspiring creator wants to tap into this content creation market, what is the absolute essential skill that you think they need to have, apart from like being good at communication, which obviously they need to be?
So it's actually something that one of my professors said in university, and I think it's super true in content creation too. He always used to say like everybody has like their superpower, right? Like everyone has their things that they're interested in or that they're good at or that they have passion for. And that's the one thing that you could always use to differentiate yourself. As cliche as that is, when you're doing something that like you're truly passionate about, like you have your own opinions and your own perspectives, and not being afraid to inject that into your content. And I think the other important thing is doing content that you genuinely care about. I mean, there is some truth in the fact where you could do content just to go viral. But if you're doing it long term, you're going to get burnt out because it's not something you're genuinely passionate about. So I guess to use your superpower.
Exactly, and that's where I think the authenticity factor also plays a part, because your superpower is your authenticity, and then you can do that.
Yeah, 100%. So like using your superpower to come across as authentic. And then the other thing, I kind of mentioned it earlier, where when looking for ideas or just other concepts, looking outside of your niche in different areas or different things that have worked in other niches, and figure out how you could apply that to yourself. So using like my travel content as an example, there's a car channel on YouTube called Car Wow. They do a series called Drag Race. Basically they do like one car versus another car, and they race to see which one's faster and whatnot. And when I started travel content, no one was doing like one airline versus another airline. So I'm like, oh, that could be interesting, and it proved to be a really successful concept. So yeah, I just recommend a lot of people doing that, because there's a lot of ideas and places that you wouldn't normally see outside your niche, and it can be very effective to take that into your own.
That's amazing to hear. And tell us about the Ultimate Creator course, and what are you planning to do if a novice content creator has to go take that? What is one thing that there's going to come out of that?
So that's something that I've been developing over the last few months, and I'm planning to like start marketing it very, very soon. It's currently live, but it's just kind of sitting there dormant until I get the content ready for it. Essentially that is, I mean, obviously it is for profit, but at the end of the day, it's me wanting to give back and put all the knowledge that I've kind of gained over the years into something that people could then watch. I'm gonna share a degree of it for free, like on my socials as well, but like the main things will be in that course. The other things that come along with it is a community. So anyone who's within that could interact with each other, could interact with me. I plan on doing weekly calls, basically like Q&A sessions, or even if I see something happening in the space, just teaching people about it, sharing all the information I've learned. And the other thing I want too is, right now there's about 13 different modules that I've created, but I plan on adding more content every month, updating it as platforms change. And I really want to hear from what like people have to say or what they want to learn. Because there's only so much that I could put out that I think people want to know. But once I have that community and they're like, hey, we want to learn about this, or how do you do that? I could show them like the behind the scenes look and like give them really in-depth information. And then the other thing I want to do long term is invite some of my other creator friends onto the platform and basically interview them. So people aren't just seeing my behind the scenes of how to make content or the things that I think is best. Because with social media, there's no one right path. There's multiple different ways you could do things. So I want to get like my other creator friends on board, interview them, say like, hey, like what was your journey? Like what was your stepping stones? What are your best practices? And just giving people all this information that's like super credible from people who have already done it. Because I find a lot of the people on social media giving advice, they haven't actually built it themselves, and they've established their platforms based on selling information, and then they think that gives them validity. But it really doesn't, because like, okay, you're selling a dream, but you've never actually done it yourself outside of selling this dream.
Exactly. No, I absolutely agree with you, because me personally, I also look up for these courses and these kind of things, because you need to learn from somebody who's already achieved that. There should be credibility to that. So I absolutely agree with you there. So that brings me to my next question. Is that what the future looks like for Eric and for your brand?
Yeah, like the main things for me in the future would be having my own personal channel. I'm running a couple like faceless channels on the side. Basically all a faceless channel is, it's basically where there's like a narration over the content being played, but like my face or no one else's face is actually present. So I'm doing that as like a side project with one of my friends. The course is kind of like the other aspect that I want to dive into, because I'm speaking at all these conferences and I'm meeting all these people, and I also see the demand rising, because everybody these days wants to be a content creator. You ask a kid like, what's your dream job? It's like, I want to be a YouTuber, I want to be a streamer, I want to be a TikToker, whatever. And then every brand and business these days, especially if you're selling products or services, B2B is a little bit different, but if it's like business to consumer, you need social media to market. And it's part of every company's strategy. And the thing I consistently hear is brands and businesses saying like, hey, we don't necessarily understand how these platforms work. A lot of people still don't know what the algorithm is. They think it's this magic black box, but there's a lot of stuff that actually goes into the algorithm. And once you understand how it works, it's like, oh, that makes a lot more sense, and you could actually create content with a higher probability to do well once you understand all these things. So yeah, it's kind of my long-term plan for now.
Good luck with that, and more power to you for doing this. It's very fewer times that we come across content creators who actually know what they're doing. Basically, they know they want to give it back to them. They would actually want to help people who want to be like them. So thank you so much, Eric, for joining us today. It was lovely chatting with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the Edge of Leaders show. Stay tuned for more episodes, and if you know someone who's a good fit for our show, then please feel free to reach out to us.